All right, so a bit more about IDEA. We are your central source for small business information, resources, and guidance for small business and entrepreneurs. IDEA is a part of City of Mississauga's Economic Development Office. We are currently providing our support and services remotely, and all our hours are from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 p.m. So feel free to reach out to us about any of your small business concerns. We offer free business information and guidance, webinars and workshops, resources and tools, training and mentorship programs, as well as entrepreneurship programs. So a bit more about our services and programs that we offer. So we do have the business advisory services, which consist of legal services, accounting, business operations, sales strategies, digital marketing strategy services, as well as our scale-up services. So more information can be found at ideamississauga.ca/contact/business advisory services. We also have the My Main Street program, which supports new and existing small businesses in Mississauga's Clarkson, Cooksville, Malton, Port Credit, Streetsville, and the downtown core area Main Street communities. The My Main Street program helps brick and mortar Main Street businesses to attract new and existing consumers. Again, more information can be found at the URL listed on the slide. We also offer the Summer Company Program. This program offers business training and mentorship to help you get your business up and running, as well as an opportunity for a grant of up to $3,000 to help launch your summer business. And the Start a Company Plus program is coming up as well. So this program consists of free training and business skills development, free mentorship and guidance, as well as the opportunity to apply for a grant of up to $5,000. Applications will be opening up next month. If you'd like to stay updated, just follow us on social media at IDEA Mississauga. Also sign up for a newsletter, which will be coming up. And then we also have our Scale Up program. The Scale Up program is a 4-month program that supports innovative and inclusive companies to grow and overcome barriers. So you basically attend workshops, connect with experienced mentors, and pitch your business to investors as well within the program. So our team is here to help. We have John Lamb, who is our entrepreneurship and innovation specialist, Susan Lovelace, who is our small business consultant, as well as myself. I do help out with some of the digital marketing consultations. And for more information on our upcoming events and programs, you can always visit ideamississauga.ca/events. We do update that site with any webinars that we have coming up. And just some ways that you can contact us. So our email is idea@mississauga.ca. Our phone number is 905-615-4460. And our website is www.ideamississauga.ca. You can also find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Idea Mississauga. And speaking about the newsletter from before, here is a QR code in case you would like to scan it and sign up for our newsletter. So I'll just leave that up for a bit if you'd like to scan. And moving on to some housekeeping rules for today. The audio and camera is only available for our speakers and panelists. The session is being recorded and it will be available on our website after today. Please use the chat area to offer any comments or questions. And when you do put your comment or question in, make sure that it is addressed to all panelists so that everyone on the all the speakers and panelists are able to see your comments. And today's presentation, resources, and a feedback survey will be emailed to all of our attendees afterwards. So I'm just quickly going to be introducing some of our speakers and panelists for today. We have Arthi, who is from the library, and she will be speaking a bit about some of the programs and resources that are available. And we also have Laura and Emily, familiar faces from all of our previous digital marketing webinars that we've been doing for the past couple months. They are from Acorn Studio Marketing, and yeah, they'll be talking a bit about our topic of today, which is how to start an online business. So at this time, I will be handing it off to Arthi.
Thanks, Mona. I'm just going to share my PowerPoint.
Okay, I've made you a presenter.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Arthi. Thank you for the introductions, Mona. We will talk a little bit about the library. So Mississauga Library has 18 locations throughout the city, and if you live in Mississauga or a student in Mississauga, or if you work or have a business in Mississauga or a property owner in Mississauga, you are eligible to get a free library card. If you do not qualify for any of these, you can still get a library card as a non-resident, and there is a non-resident fee that comes with that. And you can visit any of our library locations to pick up a library card. Our services are open at all our library locations. There is no limit to the length of stay in our library, and the drop boxes for returns are open at all locations. If you'd like more information on our opening hours and our summer hours, please do visit our website, and you can find that also by scanning the QR code on the slide here. We have many online programs that are coming up throughout the summer as well. If you go on our website, you can find that on the top requests, and they are also available here. We have our other online services such as books and media, as well as learning resources. You can also create a virtual library card. If you're not able to come in person to get a library card yourself, you can create a virtual card to access all our virtual services. And if you'd like to convert that into a physical card to borrow physical items, you can do that as well by visiting one of our library locations, as well as with a valid piece of ID. Some programs that are coming up. So July 14th, we have a Learn to Camp program happening at Frank McKechnie Library and Malton Library, as well as two online programs coming up in July 11th and July 21st, the Job Hunting Resources and the Canadian Citizenship Get Ready program. Some of our digital services that you can access using your library card, whether it be virtual or a physical card that you did get from the library, is Libby by Overdrive and Hoopla for ebooks and e-audiobooks, as well as access to a Scots Business Directory and Canadian Business Online. They are, if you have any questions on how to access that, we can definitely cover that later. But if you go on our website and go under Research and Learn, you can find all sorts of resources there, as well as LinkedIn Learning. And yeah, back to you guys. Me.
Okay, so at this time, Laura and Emily will also be presenting today's webinar topic. So I'll make Emily presenter.
Oh, actually make me
Oh, yeah,
presenter
okay.
first, and then Emily's going to do the demo at the end.
Sounds good. All right.
Thanks, Mona. Thanks, Arthi. Incredible resources, just to let everybody know. We are going to cover a very broad topic this evening, and there's a lot of the resources leaving today. I hope you will check out the library when it comes to research and a lot of the other programs, as well as the LinkedIn Learning. I know on that there is another a session on how to start a business, an online business too, so definitely check that out. And a lot of the questions, thank you everyone for putting them in. Some of them were just about business in general. So if we don't answer those kinds of questions today, just, how do I register? Or do I need to register? Things like that are more general business. And that's where Idea Mississauga is excellent. So please reach out to them. Sue is there, and Mona and other business consultants are there to answer some of those questions as well. So on that note, let's share and get started. I want to make sure everyone can see this. Play from start. Everyone's good. Thumbs up. Cool. So how to start an online business. Now, an online business is everything from selling an individual product, multiple products, to even setting up your retail business online, or else selling different services. So that's also considered an online business. So there are a lot, and there's like trillions of people online all over the world. I think it was, and I don't quote me on this one, but because it's actually not showing up in my notes, but in 2020, I'm going to actually try and find that stat for you. I am not sure why it's not showing up, but there's a lot of businesses. It's a noisy space. And if you are going to start a business, how do you get your business recognized? How do you get started? And then how do you get through that noise? We're going to talk about that today, as well as, tips on actually getting started, because it's really important to make sure that you stand out, that you get the right products, you find the right people, and you plan so that you can start and grow your business for profitable reasons, whether you want it as a side business or you actually want to scale it into a full-time business. So Emily and I are part of Acorn Studio Marketing, as they mentioned, and I spent quite a few years working with the City of Mississauga as well. So right now we specialize in getting businesses introduced and optimized for building their online brand from e-commerce and traditional business. So I am Laura Dunkley. I'm the CMO and principal consultant there. And Emily, who has joined us today, is our creative director, graphic designer, social media guru too. So she's going to do a demo at the end. So make sure you stick around to see all of what we're going to talk about in action. We also have free resources. I'm not going to mention all of them, but there's a blog, there's free downloads, there's upcoming events as well. So we do encourage you to sign up because there's a lot going to happen in the summer and definitely coming up in the fall. And it's moving forward. It doesn't want to move. Let's just do this. It's very odd. So our agenda for today, there's a few steps. Please consider these in sequence. If you skip some of these steps, you might find yourself frustrated and wanting to go back because you haven't completed something. So we really do encourage you to consider these in the steps I'm going to show you today. It's not an exhaustive list for sure, but it's going to help you get started. So first and foremost, you need to have an idea and you have to find that niche. Right? Then you do have to write a business plan. And I don't mean a huge plan. I just mean to put your idea down on paper so that you can actually make sure that the idea is going to work for you. Develop a sales strategy, which really is a fancy name for just figuring out how you're going to sell your product. Figure out who you're going to sell it to. And that's what we call the ideal customer. And then we're going to talk a bit about designing a store. Now, some of you might even start a business where it's just on a marketplace. We're going to talk about that. Maybe you just want to go on socials. Like, do you really need a website? Hopefully after today, we've answered that question, but having your own website, it's owned, it's yours, it's essential on some level. But we're going to talk to you about why we think that is. And then we're also going to talk about attracting people to your store, to your business. That's a big one. And it takes a while, but we're going to give you some tips on how to get started from there. And of course, you do need to measure success, right? How do you know if it's working? How do you know if it's not working? What do you need to do differently? And then after all that theory and wonderful stuff, we're going to make sure that you guys have this to take home with you afterwards. So don't worry about taking notes. It's all here. It'll be recorded as well as the slides are available. And we're also doing a whole blog series on these. So if you go over to Acorn Studio Marketing with where that URL is from that QR code, you're going to find the first two. So find your niche and writing a business plan. So let's get started. So first and foremost, you want to have an idea, but most people are like, where do you get that idea, right? First, there's a few different ways to go. It doesn't mean that this is all the way, but if you really want to start online and you want a place to start, think about these things. One is solving a problem. Do you know, are you in an industry where you see customers frustrated? It's like, if I only could sell that product, what if I could get that to them? Or what if there's a tech solution out there that a software as a service that I could create for that? So consider a large problem or a small problem, and then find a solution. So that's one idea. The other thing is find your passion and hobby. What if you really love to do something and you want to get into business and you could leverage that hobby and you want to do it full time? I will caution you on this because my first business was a bike shop because my partner and I loved cycling. So it's like, hey, this is great. People need their bikes fixed. So we started this business. Well, We aren't the first ones. If you go in and talk to any bike shop owner, one of the first ways to potentially destroy your passion is to actually start a business. So really think through that. It didn't destroy mine. I still love cycling. It's absolutely wonderful. But make sure if you, just because you love it, you actually have to think about, do you want to start a business and spend all your time doing it? So these are some of the questions you want to ask yourself. Is there a product or service out there that has a large enough group of enthusiasts? It's maybe uh, it's an art community and they require paintbrushes and things like that that you want to sell. Is it large enough for a potential market for you to sell into? So potentially you put that together. Is it a group of enthusiasts that also you have a passion and hobby for? And maybe there's a large problem you can solve. So that's where you can actually increase the viability of your idea. If you have expertise, maybe you want to do that as a service or it's in addition to selling a product. And then others will go just to a trending product. They have no attachment to it whatsoever, but they know that there's a need out there and they want to sell into it. So those are some ways to start with that business idea. Now, some of those are really broad markets. And a few of you asked about niches. So a niche is a specific product within a broad market. What that potentially means, there's shoes, there's a lot of shoes out there, and what would the niche be? Potentially a woman's sandal. You could niche down that way. You could just do all women's. You have to make sure that it's targeted enough, but not too targeted to the point where your segment is too small that you can't make enough money. And that's where you have to start to crunch the numbers. So women's sandals, like you might not want to say, I want to do women's sandals only, but women's shoes. Or if you say, I want to do only pink women's sandals, that's pretty tight of a niche. So just make sure you do your research to make sure it's a big enough market. So some popular niches, there's a link down below. Do your homework. Please do your homework. I did it as well. We all have to do it before it starts. And some of the stuff, if you just write down, put in popular niches, you can find a lot of information. This one was one of the best ones I found currently. And these are some of the ones that you might consider. So pet products are really popular. Subscriptions would be like subscription boxes or subscriptions as far as what they are is it's monthly, almost like a membership that people pay into. Very popular way of doing business. Home office equipment, re-commerce. Re-commerce is that reselling is a big thing as sustainability takes off and we want to do that repurposing. So that's a big market. Eco-friendly products. Many of you will probably know Emily and I definitely focus in that sustainability world. So we do understand eco-friendly products and the surge of interest in that area. Health and wellness products, that's pretty broad. Now they put this down as popular niches, but I would say make sure you target a little bit more towards that because health and wellness products could be physiotherapy equipment down to the point where it's just vitamins or something like that. So that one's broad. You'll have to do some more research on that. Educational toys is popular. Online courses, especially since the pandemic. A lot of online learning has started. Print on demand, to explain what that is. It's kind of like drop shipping. It's so you will mock up certain merchandise on your website. There's companies, once that order comes in, you act more like a broker. And then that order gets placed into this print on demand. They put that artwork, illustrations on the product, on the merchandise, and it gets delivered to the customer. Be very careful with print on demand. It's a whole world to do research into because you want to make sure you have original ideas. Don't go taking someone like a Disney logo and putting it on that because there's licensing infringements there. So print on demand is popular. And surprisingly, beauty products for men. Interesting, but true. So that's a good website to check out if you want some inspiration from popular niches. So how do you know if your idea is going to work? Here are a few questions to consider. Is there a place in the market for your market? Like, is there demand? Do I have the skills and resources to actually launch this business? Because if you don't, really consider that because that means you'll have to hire out or you won't be able to build the credibility you need. Can this business make enough money? Please answer this one, because so often we just go, oh, it's cool and it's fun. But then all of a sudden, business, and it is a business and it requires hard work, you have to put it in. And if you don't love it and you're making money to sustain its growth, you will probably drop off. So make sure that you can make enough money to cover all the costs and make a profit. And how big can this get? Well, do you want it to scale? Do you want it to stay small? What are the chances of this business actually working? What's that probability? Does this support my personal interests, values, and vision? A really important part to keep it sustaining, and you can be authentic. Whoops. So figure out all of those, go through them. It's just a good mindset idea to make sure that the idea will work. Doesn't guarantee it, because you still need to do your homework, and we're going to talk about the next steps. So the next step is writing that business plan. Oh, so frustrating, right? But it doesn't mean it has to be this giant document. Please, it's just notes. Just put them down. It's to take that idea out of your head, put it down, and start to make sure that you have all the sections that you need to start your business. One is, where do you want to go with the business? Your goals. Where do you see this? What is that vision statement that you are going to create for this new business? How are you going to act out on that vision and make it happen? Is your mission. Value-added proposition is going to be coupled with your competitive advantage. It's that value you're giving to your customer. Why are they going to do business with you in the first place? Competitive advantage is figuring out what everyone else is doing. Business model is, we're going to talk a little bit about the business model. It's the type of business basically that you're setting up. What are you going to sell? How are you going to sell it? Crunch the numbers. That's all your financials. We're going to touch on that too. And then how are you going to promote it to drive traffic to your website? Now, at this early stage, you're attracting customers, but marketing also has to consider converting and retaining those to create champions and returning customers. So those are the key sections. Business models, B2C, that's selling directly to the consumer. B2B is your business to business. Consumer to business, this is where your online store, and these are relatively new. And this is similar to Upwork. I don't know if any of you know Upwork, but it's that online, being able to, Fiverr, some of you might be familiar with, where you can go and find a freelancer to do service. So that's actually going from the consumer to the business who's selling the service. And then you have consumer to consumer, which is like a Kijiji or a Craigslist. So figure out how you're going to do business, and that would be the business model. And then you have to figure out how you're going to sell this. There's so many types of doing business. Drop shipping. Drop shipping is where you are acting more as a broker, and you go, you take all the sales through your website, and then it sends off to the manufacturer, which is like an Alibaba, Shopify, there's a bunch of them, and then they will ship directly to the customer. Direct to consumer, if you're a retailer or you actually have a product you want to sell, that'll be what we call a B2C, direct to consumer, D2C. That was the typo. Wholesale, if you want to actually sell to businesses for resale purposes. Print on demand, we talked about that. White label is similar to drop shipping. However, you're not going to a major manufacturer. You're actually going to a manufacturer and saying, hey, we need this product, but we want our brand, our label put on that. You have to have more inventory. There's more of a cost up front, but then it's branded specifically for you, and then it gets shipped. There's different ways to do it. You can ship it yourself, or you can have someone else ship it. So that's what we call white labeling. Service is pretty obvious. You're not selling a product, just your service. And that subscription, that monthly payment, which either software as a service, Netflix, many of you will know that type of subscription payment, if that makes sense. So you do have to figure out how you're going to sell it before you do anything, and memberships if you have a community as well. And here we go. So let's get started. Now we need to figure out, we've got all this, the model, we've figured out the type of business we're going to do, and now we have to set up those sales channels. How are people actually going to interact with us to buy our business, buy our products or services? Website start, we're going to talk about how to set that up. And social media is another way, social commerce. And Google Shopping is another avenue. I'm sure there's more than this. Marketplaces is some of those key things that many of you, even just getting started, Etsy, Amazon, and eBay. Feel free to pick Emily's brain at the end because she has an Etsy shop as well. So there we go. There's the eBay store. If you go online, there's a whole thing about how to set up an eBay store. There's Amazon is set up as a seller. And then there's Etsy. So this is the question, can you just go to an Etsy and stay there as an Etsy? The question is absolutely. For sure you can. And they do a lot of the work for you. They do a lot of the marketing. However, it's on borrowed ground. So if they decide to shut down or something happens to that, it's out of your control. So there is a piece of that that you leverage that because of their size and ability to promote that, but you also lose a bit of control. So always having that website as your home base is usually what we recommend for that. One of the reasons. Crunching the numbers, I'm not spending a lot of time on this, but please know, go back to our blog if you want to do this. It's all written there a little more detailed. So some of the startup costs, this is something that's often overlooked. And we get that questions like, how can we get started as quickly as possible? Because we want to start selling. Can we do this free? Well, you can't. Not really. There's so many of those hidden costs that you don't even realize it. But to have an online store, Etsy, it doesn't really matter. To do it properly, set it up like a proper business, there are those initial costs. If you do it yourself, it's going to minimize some of that overhead, but you're going to have the skills to be able to do it and the time. And then there are just those basic costs, like getting a domain name. That's your URL. One of the first things you should do is go and snag that domain name. And that's anywhere from like $5 to $20 a year. Website hosting, you do have to pay that. You can do it free initially, but credibility, I would say that's one of those things I would definitely do to make sure that you have it fully branded and no ads. Inventory, if you require inventory, that's a cost. Even if you do drop shipping, it's highly recommended that you bring in samples to see what it looks like, take some pictures, and then also send, and then you can use that, and then you can just make sure that watch how it's shipped, making sure the credibility of the shipping is there, see how they handle that. That's all really important for those upfront costs. Yes, you can send them back, but it's still part of it. So inventory is something that may or may not affect you. Payment processing, there may be a charge to setting that up. Registering your business. Yes, you should register your business. Doesn't matter if it's online or if it's a regular business. It's still a business. So please consider it. There's some links to go to that I have toolkits to check out, but you do need to register for your business and incorporate. If you have questions, please contact IDEA. Accounting, you might want to hire an accountant just to make sure your books are set up, that you don't forget, how to do all the taxing. There may be software costs as well. And then that branding and marketing. We're going to touch on branding and marketing, but please make sure that you do consider even just the very basics, that it's branded and set up properly for your business. And we're going to go through, because I think we only have an hour, but Emily and I are going to stay on longer. So you guys feel free to stay on with us as well. So fixed costs are all those things that don't ever change. And then variable costs are what we also call retail costs. And those things will change based on how much you actually sell, right? So it's going to be logistics. The cost of the goods might fluctuate, ordering processes. And if you do any paid media, it's that customer acquisition cost. So you'll have to figure that all in when you figure out if you're actually going to make money, right? It's gross revenue minus your costs equals your net profit. So here's some of the baselines. Take this. I found this online, which seems to be pretty good, actually. So often you don't know where to start when you're doing this. Like, what's the right number? What should you be doing? So some of these costs, when it comes to costs of goods sold, what should be the the percentage of your actual selling price that you should consider, processing fees, what's typical, what's fixed costs. So use it as a reference, but only as a reference to get started, because as you do it, your own data will be your best bet. So what are those steps to setting up? Make sure you register your business. Please contact legal if you're doing all of that, incorporation, things like that, to ask any questions, especially if you're doing the international market. There's a lot of things to consider. Accountants, set up your accounting, terms and conditions. This is kind of that purchase agreement, which you will want to talk to legal about. If you set up with Shopify, they actually have sample terms and conditions already in. Shopify is actually pretty good with that, but make sure it's right for your business. Setting up banking, payment systems, all of these things still have to get done. And then figure out who is on your team. And that can be you, it can be your partner who's just doing data entry for you. It can be your marketing team. Emily and I work with quite a few. It could be an intern that you bring on board, whoever that might be. Consider who's going to be there to help you. And then here's some government resources that you can look at. Very odd. And so when you do your website getting started, there is a checklist at the bottom. This is great for you, as well as on the Idea Mississauga. We have done a webinar on this, but register your domain, choose what platform you want to do, figure out what your branding is, design your website, set up your payment, do the search engine optimization, track performance, and then make sure before you launch that you test everything, that all your pages are working, all the information is there, and you check your shopping cart. Make sure you send that out to 2 or 3 people before you actually launch it. And so designing your website, what do you require from your website? These are just some of the questions you should ask. I'm going to show you a few of them, but consider what you're selling, the budget, your scalability, security. All of these things have to be taken into consideration, because quite often people will ask, what's that perfect website, right? There is no perfect website. There is just websites that are perfect for certain people and certain businesses. So consider this list when you go through, and we're going to show you a few of them. So the sections, the type of websites, what we call a site builder, will be something like Squarespace or Wix. It's a contained, sometimes it's drag and drop, or sometimes they have blocks. Emily's going to show a Squarespace one at the end for her digital downloads. So you'll get to see a bit of that. But this is what we call a site builder. It's pretty contained. It's good. It's easy to start. Scaling is a whole nother story. So if you have a real custom project that you want to work on, it might not be ideal, but it's a great place to start for almost all of them. With even for e-commerce, they do have drop shipping, right, Emily? Now I think Squarespace does.
Yeah, they integrate with some, not all, but I know they're
Okay.
working on a lot.
So definitely check out all the integrations for whichever one you want to do before you actually, pull the trigger and actually do that. WordPress.com is the one where it's hosted on WordPress, much less expensive, easier to go in to get started, and they have an e-commerce option. There's a bunch of templates, and even for e-commerce specific ones. If you are a consultant, they have consultant ones, they have restaurant ones. It's pretty cool. The nice thing with the WordPress.com, even if you start here at an entry-level price, you can export your WordPress files to go to a self-hosted. So self-hosted is when you actually have like a GoDaddy or a Bluehost. They have WordPress on there. You can pick whatever template you want, whatever plugins. It's all customizable for you, but you're going to have some level of skills, and you have to make sure you do everything. You have to get your SSL certificate. You have to make sure you put your plugins in there. You have to make sure that all your security things are done. You have to make sure you manage it. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of layers, and you have to manage it and cost out all of those layers. I've done it. It's a lot of work. But if you want a customized solution, and there are a lot of WordPress designers out there, it might be the right option for you. So here's some of them. And WooCommerce is one of their biggest platforms. Shopify, most of you know Shopify. Awesome. It's totally set up for e-commerce. That is its sole purpose. So if you have a product you want to sell and you want to go in and Your product pages are your biggest thing. That's it. It's simple. And you're selling a simple product, or not the best for service. I wouldn't go that route for service. If you're doing service, I would stick with a site builder or a WordPress, because blogging is really great on WordPress and Squarespace. Shopify's marketing pages on the front end are not great. I'm sure they're working on it. I've gone in and built a Shopify store before. Their product stuff was all great. There's a lot of, you can connect with drop shipping. They have so many applications, but to do blogging and things like that, it's a bit of a challenge. It's not their forte. So really think through what you want to do with these guys. But they did come up. And if you, and I should find that link, it's something about Shopify Essentials, I think, and they have launched a whole bunch of new stuff. So if you haven't been in to see the Shopify stuff, please go and have a look what's available. So they make it simple, drag and drop, a lot of different ways to customize it. And it looks very much like something like this, right? It's what you would expect. But be careful, because if you want something unique and customized, it takes a little bit of design, and that's an understatement, to make it look unique. Most of the stores all start to look the same. So if a unique design is what you're looking for, just be ready to do some customization. And then designing your website too, please remember that there's two sections, right? There's that commerce, those essential pages like your product page, your home, about, contact, and privacy policy. You have to have those. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to have all of those. There's optional ones like blogging, location, events, forefathers. These guys are just one because it was a bit unique. They use they can call them different. Our story sometimes is your about. Or events listing, they have an events listing. They have a kitchen mix podcast, right? Like they call it, really cool. So it doesn't have to be the same, but it has to provide that essential information for people to find about who you are, what you sell, and how to do business with you. A sitemap, Miro, is what we use. It's really cool. It's like a drag and drop online platform to figure out what pages you need. It's kind of a fun tool. So that product page, make sure that you have all the information in there. That is everything. Not only will it help search engines find you, but it gives your customer, by the time you've attracted them, they figured out who you are, and you've given them all that blog interesting content. Now they're at the product, they're ready to purchase. Make sure you've given them everything from what does it look like, for instance, for these guys, what's it look like in action? What are the different color variations? What are those other things that I need to know to buy? Is there a description? Is there warranties? Do I have money back guarantee? Are there other accessories that I need? And then how much is it going to cost? Will they sell to my country? All of those types of things, go through that checklist and make sure that you've added it in. And then here's some photography tips. I won't spend time on this only because of limited time, but you can do most of it with your iPhone. Some good lighting, right, Em? And, take all the angles, make sure you have those different variations, showcase diversity, make sure it represents your brand as well as your product, and make it fun. It's all about the experience as well. And then those writing tips. One key thing to remember before you start writing and you're going to design your website, make sure you consider that content, right? You have to know your business. This is why we write the business plan. Know who you are and what you are offering, because all of that information you're going to start to pull, and it's going to go into your website. Who you are, some of the other information on the website, home, about the team, ideas, inspirational ideas, those blogs potentially. Make sure you start collecting that before you do the design of your website, and get organized, because there's a lot of pictures and things happening. If you have a lot of product, make sure you set up your folders or it becomes a little crazy, and then they're named properly. So just to make your life a little easier, do set that up and have a goal for each page. So there's some cool, fun tips on writing. Just make sure it's it's a good hook. So one of the biggest things is we talked about top of the fold, right? If they land on your website, do they know who you are and who you serve? Make sure you've got a split second to basically attract them in, and you want to make sure you have all the right call to action. So think always for your customer first and take them through the journey, right? Most people go, well, I just want to do digital ads. Well, digital ads are great, but when they come over to your website, are you having them land in the right page? Do they have enough information to actually purchase from you? So make sure that you connect from the digital ad to the landing page. You're giving them an information about, okay, this is interesting. The brand is consistent. The pictures are consistent. The text is consistent. I understand that I need to this about the business, and then it moves through. It's like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to buy. So we're going to quickly talk on the funnel, coming up on what a little bit more about that. So channel strategy is all here. Website 101, getting started. You can check out more of that channel strategy at this webinar. And that hub, basically you have clients that have questions. You have your website, you have channels, right? You have that way to get in touch with people. And then you create content. And the whole idea is that you're going to answer those questions so that they can purchase. This is it. This is simple content marketing 101. And we do have a webinar on that too. But basically, remember, your website is the hub of everything. They're going to come here. It's one URL. You're going to create content and you're going to move them through the channels to be able to get the information they need to buy from you. So here it is. This is how we start to attract our customers. You've got your website built. It's the center. You're going to create blog or some type of content, and then you're going to go out and you're going to have your channels. They're going to be branded across them. Social media, we have all your directories in Google Business Listing. This is important. These are all those different backlink strategies. We don't actually get into a lot here because we talk a lot about this on our digital marketing sessions. And it doesn't matter if you're an online store or you're a regular store, pretty much it's all the same. You're going to have different apps, you're going to do email marketing, you're going to have digital ads, and you're going to even consider traditional marketing such as events, PR, media outreach, and even some in-store signage if it's applicable. And this is where we come to branding, social media 201, as we talk more about this, right, Em? What's really important is that when you create, whether it's on your Etsy store or it's your website or your social media, make sure that your branding is consistent across all of them. You are driving people to your store, make sure it's the right feel, if the right colors are there, and you're consistently creating content that showcases your product in action and is a resource really for whoever is going to purchase your product or service. And your ideal client, get to know them. This is just a persona profile that you could fill out, but you have to understand what their attitudes are. So when you are going to do any type of marketing, you need to really understand it. If you're going to be selling baby products, know what those moms really need, right? For the child, because it's obviously not the child, but you want to showcase that child. Where do they live? What's important to them? Is the environment really important to them? Are they hanging out at home? What kind of movies are they watching? And so the ideal client is your primary audience, but you might have a secondary client audience as well. Maybe it's grandma and grandpa. So you can fill that all out too. It will help you target all of your marketing and what kind of products to sell. And this is how they feel. This is just another one. Feel free to print them out and put it in. But some of those questions are, what are those challenges? What are you trying to help them? Because you do want to be a resource to them. But you're not just always promoting them. So get to know your ideal client. And here is the link where it will take you to all of our webinars. And part of it, Shopify, there's one on Shopify. There's starting an online store. There's another one on that. There's this whole series on how to write a digital marketing plan is there. I definitely encourage you to do this for helping to attract people to your business and keeping them on board. And then track performance, right? So think of the funnel, think of that customer journey. first you're starting out, that traffic awareness, right? You need to get out there and bring people in. That's the top of the funnel. Once they're there, then you want to get leads, right? You want them to consider who you are. Then you want them to purchase, so it's into your shopping cart. And then what happens if they go out? There's a way to use your email marketing to try to remind them to come back in. And then once they're in and then your customer, how do we keep them on board? How do we create them to be potential influencers and ambassadors? So here's some of the stats we need to track, and these are KPIs. These are to making sure that we are on the right track. So how many users are coming to your website? These are all just website stats. And then we want to see how many returning visitors. So setting up Google Analytics will be essential. Actually, a good idea. Not even as essential as it used to be, because if you do a site builder, right, Emily, they still have analytics in the back end. They're just not as detailed as Google Analytics. So I really do suggest doing that. Site builder, the joy of going in with like a Squarespace is it's so easy to connect all of these. Whereas when you have WordPress, it takes a little bit more time. The decision retention page is shared. All of that's there. And then we have a whole bunch of other metrics when it comes to social media, when it comes to email marketing. Just put them down and start to track them. Don't track everything, but definitely the truth is in the trends, as they say. So start to put every month and put them in, because you're going to start to watch. And then you can go back. It's like, oh, right, last year, I forgot I did a promotion at that time and it really worked. So that's how you can start to use your ad dollars and your time effectively. So setting up Google Analytics, analytics.google.com is where you can get started. And then here's what the reports look like in the back end. And there's a whole bunch of things you can do for conversions as well to see how many people are moving through your website and converting to sales. So key takeaways: do your homework, do your research before you even get started. Make sure that you go through all of this and then making sure that it reduces the risk of it not working, and to hopefully make sure it's the success that you want it to be. Create that plan, get to know your client, which is an ongoing basis. They're always changing, things are evolving, so make sure you stay on top of that. Give them something that's worth when you're starting your business. It's got to be valuable. You've got to build trust and give them a great experience. Don't just think that you're going to throw up a website and then everyone's going to show up and they're going to buy from you. It's a journey, right? So you give them everything up the front. You've done your homework. Now bring them in. Go into social media. Start to build that community, that engagement. Encourage them to come over, watch what they're doing, and then learn. Do it, learn, and then adapt to those changes. So follow business best practices. It is an online business, and there are some unique things to the e-commerce world, but it really does follow those best practices. And then there's a whole bunch. Here's that link to that, and we will be sharing that out afterwards. So that's us. If you guys have any questions afterwards, and before we get into Emily's demo, you can follow us at acornstudio.marketing. And here we go. Oh, I'm not even going to do this one. I'm going to go right into Emily's. And while Emily's setting up, if you guys have questions, I did see some come through. So thanks for being patient, because we want to be able to have the recording go through. I will try and answer some, Emily, while we're doing that.
Some good questions in there.
All right.
So I'll do a little introduction before I open up my screen.
Okay.
So including Acorn, and I am the creative director at Acorn Studio Marketing. I am also a graphic designer by trade. So I actually have my own website to showcase some of the projects and stuff that I'm working on, showcase my service, a little bit about me, more of my community involvement, as well as I sell digital downloads for other creative individuals. So this is the goal for my website. So my website is completely designed in Squarespace. I have designed my own branding and the strategy around my website. So as soon as you land on my website, you know exactly what I am. You see my face, you know who I am, graphic designer, and then a brief description of the type of people that I work with. We scroll down, design services, so you know this is the type of service that I offer, a brief description of the services, and then right away that first button that you will see, it shows that I have a portfolio, so you can go head over to that one. Shows a little bit of my work, some of the brands that I've been working with. And as you scroll more, you start to learn more about me and the services that I offer. You see my face again, so it's staying consistent. It's familiar. You learn a little bit about me. Scrolling down further, I write blogs, some trends. You can see some of the featured ones that I have published. Access to my shop, a quick button to view some of the new items, and then a super simple transition into getting in touch with me. The strategy behind creating my homepage was that it showed a little piece of everything that is within my website. It doesn't give a full description of what is on each page, but it shows what I need them to see. So my goal with this is that if they only landed on my homepage and they didn't go anywhere else, that they would know all the information that I would want them to know. That I sell a product, the services that I offer, who I am, what I look like, because I am essentially my own brand. This would be a little bit different for somebody who is a company that sells a product, but then you would just replace my face with a picture of your product. So always think that people, if they only land on your homepage, are they going to know all the information that you want them to know? I won't go through all of my pages, but the most important ones, and since we're talking about e-commerce a lot, I'm going to go over to my resource shop. So I land on my website right away. It's consistent with my brand. My colors are all the same. And it tells you exactly what I'm selling and who I'm selling it to. So resources for creative entrepreneurs and business owners, with a little bit more of a description, especially for SEO purposes. Having this description at the very top will really help with, your page getting found. Super easy transition into my products. So I have 5 digital downloads that I market to business professionals and other creatives. For an example, just to show exactly what it is, you land on one of my pages. The image stays consistent from the other page. I have a very clear title of exactly what I'm selling, the cost of it, and then a quick description of what it is. The further you scroll, I do have more images of essentially what's inside. My goal is I want people to feel comfortable purchasing a digital download, because there's so many things out there. So what is going to set myself apart from other digital downloads that are very similar to this? I want to be transparent about what I'm selling. So I do show them a lot of what they're going to get. And then as you scroll down further, there is more description of what they're going to get. And because it's a digital download and all these digital downloads are so different, I talk about the process of them downloading the product. What happens after they purchase it? Some troubleshooting steps, are some of those like frequently asked questions. And because some of my products do pertain to creating proposals and business plans and everything, there are some legal tips that I do provide. So I just want to make sure that, they do know that this was not created by a lawyer. This is just from my personal experience. And just, so we're all on the same page. So I kept it very clean, very simple, and they know essentially exactly what they're getting. And most of my product pages do look the exact same. One thing that I did make sure that I add on my product page were additional frequently asked questions. So, how do I download the item? Who are the templates exactly designed for? Again, all of my spreadsheets are designed within Google Documents. So one of the common questions that I get is, if I don't have a Gmail account, can I still use the template? Simple answer, yes, but I do make sure that I answer that for them so it's less work. And then another really good thing that I wanted to make sure I have is if there's a resource for people who a resource that they're looking for but they don't quite have. I have a call to action button that is that takes them over to a form to, let me know. We can get in contact. And this is a great way to help build leads as well. Um, and I know Laura talked about, other forms of ways to sell your items. So I do primarily sell my resources on my website, but I do also have an Etsy page. This was actually where I started. I started selling all of my digital products on Etsy and then transferred them over onto my website. And the biggest reason I did that is because I wanted to create more things than just digital downloads. Like I wanted to have a blog. I wanted to show my portfolio. I wanted people to get to know me as a designer. So, but I couldn't do it on this platform. So I still have all of my downloads, but on here to connect with people. And my goal with this is to actually, if they download on Etsy, is to drive them back over to my website to find more resources. Yeah, Laura, are there any questions so far about this?
There aren't, but can you show them some of your social stuff
Yeah.
too, and potentially how that drives sales? Because I know for our business, we get people through Instagram reaching out to
All the
us.
time. So my niche, what I have done when I niche down is originally, and this isn't my first time creating downloads. Like I've gone through a lot of different audiences to figure out which niche I actually want to target and the best that I can connect with. So with a lot of trial and error, I connect best with other designers, people who, might be just coming out of school or they're starting their business and they need the helpful tools to get started without having them to break the bank. So that's essentially what I did, and that is how I have been connecting with people. So I created my social media platforms to not necessarily sell my product, but to connect with them. So I provide a lot of really good tips in the world of graphic design. There is some, inspiration, a lot of articles that I share. I have also, my primary source is my reels. I'm a huge stickler for video content. And the video content that I actually create is under the pillar of entertainment and to educate as well. So I use my videos and I use my knowledge to entertain other creative business owners to better connect with them. And then with my actual posts, I use it to build that extra relationship and that extra step to eventually bring them back over to my website. Another really important thing too that I always encourage people to create is your own custom link in bio, especially for Instagram and for TikTok, because you only have the ability to create one link. Because I use Squarespace, I was able to create my own custom link option. So if I actually scale this down, this is what it would look on a mobile. This is actually a page created on my website. And this is all the really important buttons that I would like them to do. I would like them to go. So instead of them just going over to my homepage, I have customized these buttons to go over to my resource shop, my blog, my portfolio work, any design inquiries. I also have it linked over to Acorn as well. And that is honestly, as soon as I did this and I went away, I was using Linktree and Milkshake for the longest time. And as soon as I created my own page and customized it exactly how I wanted it to, my website traffic increased so much because I had control of where everybody was going. And I wasn't driving traffic to Linktree and I wasn't driving traffic to Milkshake. I was actually directly driving traffic to my own website and I had more control over where I wanted them to go.
Okay, so the takeaway though is that everyone here is just starting a business. You might be coming from an existing business and just want to do an online one, or you're totally new to the world of entrepreneurship. That you didn't magically just poof one day show up to
Ooh.
this brand. This is your second website. you started with the link tree. It took you a while to develop your ideal client. It took work. I mean, you originally had that plan, but it has evolved over time. So,
I have actually gone through 3 websites.
okay.
So it it does not happen over time. I have also been a graphic designer for 8 years, and it has just taken me until this point to figure out what my personal brand and what my niche is. Um, and that's not to say it's going to take you that long, but I, at the beginning, wanted to target everybody. I wanted to be everybody's best friend. I wanted to be liked by everybody and sell to everyone when that wasn't the case. I was present on social media. I learned the type of people that I was connecting with, and my ideas, stemmed from me asking myself, how can I help the audience that I am connecting with?
Right.
How is this going to work?
Right.
And that is when I developed my own niche to connect with other designers and, help them through the parts that I wish I had help when I was at their point in um, their entrepreneur path.
So really starting small and starting focused, and we got that question about a niche, right? How targeted. You can create an online store with one product,
Hmm.
right? Just go in, find that problem, find that cool thing, see what's trending, go through the process of starting a business. Keep it simple, really, right? Maybe it is, one specific baby toy, or it is women's t-shirts, or whatever it is, and then use that as a lesson to build it out. Register a business that maybe you have multiple stores underneath. You still might have do different things like that. You can do things like that as well. There's a very creative way, but just start simply. Don't wait till it's perfect. Do as many things as possible and then get started. So thanks, Emily, for that. We're gonna go because we're a bit after, but like I said, we're here till, for a while. And so I'm gonna run through some of the questions. Um, I have a few trading.
There is a question I'm just seeing right now, the difference
Okay,
between
just
Linktree and Milkshake.
okay.
So essentially, Linktree and Milkshake act as the same um, purpose, is to allow you as a business who wants to drive people to multiple places to have that custom, link in bio. Um, Linktree is very similar to essentially what I created myself, and it allows you to just have like a list of like buttons and social media icons at the bottom. But unless you pay for it, it is branded with Linktree. Milkshake is essentially kind of the same thing. You can get a little bit more creative with Milkshake by adding essentially like different cards. So it's like you can almost like create pages and stuff, which, I mean, if you don't have a website yet, it's a really good way to kind of advertise yourself. But again, it is branded with Milkshake, so it's not technically your own. And you always have to think about it too. If you're planning to lead someone from social media to the place that you want to go, you have on average about 3 clicks to get them there. So if you are now going through Linktree and through all the ads and stuff that they have, that's an extra click. And that's an extra click to not be on your website.
Mhm.
So my strategy was I created that page so they actually land on my website right away instead of Linktree getting the traffic. I get the traffic.
And it wasn't a hard page to create. Really, they're buttons, right? Just lined up that actually have a link to where they need to go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I wasn't sure if you were frozen. Okay, so we do have a question, and this is the big thing, and I know we focused a lot on digital downloads with Emily. But the whole big thing about physical products versus digital products. Digital products, absolutely, they're easier to manage, right? Because once it's out there, you have no inventory. You can download it. You really do have to think through, and you thought through this. So email marketing is a really important part because when they shop, You have to then give them a link to be able to download it. You have to give them instructions. There may different downloads require different types of instructions. So there is some thinking through it, but there's no inventory to manage, no shipping costs. It's definitely more of a streamlined opportunity. So, you know, that,
Yeah, there is no shipping costs or anything, but you always have to remember too, like with digital products, you can't just leave it and then it's fine. You still have to check to make sure that the link isn't broken. That wherever you're, like I said, like I post all of my digital downloads on Google Docs. I have to make sure Google Docs is working. So it's not just something that you can leave and be done with. It still does take management. It's not as much management as if you had an actual inventory. Um, but I don't want people to have the wrong idea that if you have a digital download that you don't have to do any work. It is a lot of
right.
work still.
Right. It's still work. I mean, creating them and designing them, and oh
Yeah.
my word, now Emily's a designer. Please think through that from a designer. If it's something you're serious about, please hire a designer to brand it and do it, because there's a lot of training that our graphic designers go through for accessibility, from sheer design. I mean, you'll know it once you do it. I mean, there's programs like Canva that you can do things, but Canva doesn't teach you how to be a designer. You still have to have that understanding of design. Same with website. You can go in and quickly design a website, but understanding user experience, understanding how the function and where things are supposed to go comes with expertise. So please know that you don't have to be great at that to get started, but if you want to build that level of branding that your customers will probably expect, you may want to put some budget towards hiring somebody for that. So physical products, the big difference too is when you get into the physical world is, do you want to manage the inventory or not? So definitely consider all the costs that I mentioned, the logistics, the bringing it into you if you're going to do it and then ship it out, or you're going to have somebody drop ship it. There's reasons why you would want to do it yourself, and which is really cool, like subscription boxes, if you bring them in from different places, because then you get to package it the same. You get to make sure it's that extra care. Maybe you want to do a thank you note in it. You have full control of the experience that someone's going to get outside of the shipping company you're choosing. Is how you're going to deliver that. If you do drop shipping, it comes from multiple vendors. You don't have control, but you don't have to also cost an inventory. All of that has to get worked out in your business plan and what your expectations are. So you can't do physical. If you do have a retail store or you're making something, you want to be able to leverage that online audience to send it out to them. So there's so many different factors, and it all comes back to what do you want to sell, right? The other thing somebody mentioned, Kijiji, Craigslist, scams and fakes. How do we weed out scams and fake inquiries?
I
Recaptcha,
It's
maybe?
hard. Yeah, reCAPTCHA is you can use that, but I feel like websites like Kijiji and Craigslist, like they have a purpose. I feel like if you are trying to sell something specific, it does open you up to, those scams and everything. And maybe if you are getting a lot of scam inquiries, maybe rethink if that's the platform that you want to be on.
Mhm.
If you're selling, a refurbished like couch or a table, maybe that's the place that you want to be. Same with like Facebook Marketplace or something like that. Or if you're renting out an apartment, or putting something up for rent, Kijiji might be the place that you want to go to. But you will run the risk of scam stuff no matter where you go. But if you're getting a lot of it, maybe rethink where you want to, promote your product or your services.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Em. Putting notes in different websites onto one site. So you have different products. This is a typical question we get to. So maybe you've started different companies and you want to consolidate them into one website. Just make sure you think through, it's a whole business idea. If somebody's coming, is it the right audience? Is the expectation going to be the same? So if you have similar products and selling to similar clients, then for sure you can do it. Bring it all in, make sure you do your redirects from your old website URLs and they're going to the right pages. You can do that. If they are different, please keep them separate. Different audience. If you're doing a training programs and you're selling mugs, Please do not do it. If one's going to the end consumer and one's going to employees, please don't put them together. It's going to mix brands. It's going to confuse your audience. You are not going to be able to do anything well. If you can, I would love to see it. Please show it to me. It's just very, very difficult. So I would keep them separate, as separate businesses from a marketing standpoint. It's just typical marketing best practices. Just step back and have a look to see, to make sure if would you land on it and would this make sense for you. Missing products for the kids market. I don't know. You're going to have to do some research if what products are missing in the kids market. I can't really help in that world. It's been a while since I've had children, so it's not a topic I'm really familiar with. Algorithm, how does algorithm factor into website building, especially if I'm coming from a profile building website platform, an AI like? I'm not sure if I fully understand. Do you understand that question, Anne?
Not completely.
Whoever put that in, if you want to just maybe clarify that in an upcoming one, we'll come down to that one. What's the difference between Shopify, Etsy, Squarespace? I don't know Editor X, but the difference, hopefully we touched on that through the session, but there are some differences, right? Etsy is Shopify is your own website. Etsy's a marketplace.
Yeah.
Squarespace is similar to Shopify, but it has different features and benefits, and it has some e-commerce, but not huge like Shopify for e-commerce, but it allows better marketing and blogging aspects. And you can do, I'm pretty sure you can actually integrate a Shopify Lite link onto Squarespace too. So you can check into that one. Just do your homework, features on all of them before you decide which is right for you. You talked about Linktree and Milkshake. You guys will get the presentation with us. That's why we do so much text, partially for accessibility so that people can read them as well, but so that you will have this as a resource afterwards. Linktree selling marketing ads and online businesses. Do you know about that?
Not too sure about that one. Um, I think it's more like so Linktree, and I think one of the biggest things that I touched on was the fact that unless you pay a lot for it, Linktree is going to have their branding on what you want to show your
Okay.
customers. And
Okay.
I personally am not a fan. And it's an appearance thing for me in regards to businesses. If I see somebody else's branding, it's
Right?
from a design standpoint and from a consumer. But again, it's research on your customer. And if your
Okay.
customers are someone who doesn't like to see other people's branding, then maybe consider other alternatives.
That's right. Someone's asking about affiliate marketing, another topic. I think we need to do a webinar on affiliate marketing.
Love it.
If someone does want to reach out to us and talk about that and is interesting, maybe we will have to do that because there's so many aspects to affiliate marketing. I have dabbled in that world and it's a nice little add-on, but it could be an entire program that you build around it. And there are programs out there to develop for affiliate marketing. So a whole nother topic for sure. In-person sales, real estate, auctions, seeing the rise of XR and AR websites for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Uh, we just went to a conference in Vancouver not too long ago, and they were talking about the future of design and businesses and everything, and it was spectacular. But one of the things, and what a lot of us talk about is, and if the past like couple years has taught us anything, is businesses need to be able to survive without people leaving their homes. And people don't always want to leave the comfort of their home. So now how are you as a business going to be innovative and accommodate that?
Yeah.
But that is a
Yeah.
whole nother topic that I could spend hours talking
Another
about because
topic.
I'm totally geeking out about, the future of where business is going in regards to AI and VR and all of
Ugh.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And remember, most of the people shopping online are the younger people, and they are our future. So they expect you to be online, even if you're in person and you're not even sure and you're running a business now, you need to make sure that at least your channels are open. And if you have a retail location, you need to be able to reach out and access these people. It is the future, especially the pandemic has accelerated it. It's not going away. It's here to stay. So make sure you think about how you want your business to be online is really where this topic is beyond just starting an online business, right?
Yeah, and if you
Um,
think about it, in less than 10 years, Gen Alpha, which is underneath Gen Z, is going to be one of the leading consumers. So,
yeah.
and 10 years is not that far away. So how are we all going to adapt to that up and coming consumer habit?
And they have high expectations. You need to not only streamline, from the ads from wherever and making sure it's clear, they need to know it needs to have a good experience. If they don't have a good experience, they're gone and they probably won't come back. So before you launch, just think through and really get to understand that client, right? And your customer. What do they want? What's that vibe? What are those images? Are you showing diversity? Are you using the right language? Are you using tools? If English is not your first language, make sure you have somebody help you with that, because some of the nuances may make all the difference on whether you can convert them to sales. Someone's asking, if you're a new entrepreneur, would you recommend building a team and creating a website? If so, how would I know who to pick, basically? Emily, do you want to touch
Yeah,
on
so
that?
if just want to make sure this is if you're hiring somebody to create your website. Laura, is it?
Yeah, I think it's well, and to take that beyond that, just the website, it's really your whole branding. And if you're going to hire a team, I think like this is where it's if you know enough about marketing, you can, and actually I will find a link and I will drop it in here because I did do that about how to create a team on a shoestring budget. But you have to know if you have the ability to project manage it. Do you have the skills to be able to put it all together? Because there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. It's not just this nice little website, and you'll see some pretty cool ones out there. There's a lot of thought behind it, because your website's the hub, but it's only a piece. You have to think of branding. You have to think of the products. You have to think of the web copy. You have to think of social. What kind of content are you going to write? Are you going to be able to consistently do it? It's the strategy, it's the implementation, making sure it's all branded, and then it's how are you going to manage this? So for sure, I say from a website standpoint, that's a piece of it. Emily, did you want to, while I look for that
Yeah,
link,
in
touch on that?
regards to finding the right team to work with and building your website, um, I would first, I mean, I'm a huge sucker for supporting local.
Mm,
So maybe look at some local agencies, some local designers, take a look at their portfolio, and if they work with other industries that you are a part of, that means that they are familiar with the industry. So not always about, I mean, it is about, the product that they actually deliver on and how amazing their websites do look, but if they actually have knowledge about your industry. So Laura and I specialize in working with tech companies and businesses in sustainability. So we have a really good background on that, and we understand how to build that strategy within that industry. And it does take a process. So if you are working with somebody who is doing your branding and doing your website, there is a strategy before the design part of your branding, before you even get to a logo. And it's not just a logo, it's everything. A lot of theory goes behind creating a brand. And then you're getting into the strategy of developing a website. And there's actually a proper way on what pages to design first in your website and make sure which copy goes on what page. For example, when anytime we're designing a website, the home page is always the last page to be designed. And we go through an entire wireframe process with our clients, and we take a look at exactly, the structure of everything before we even go into the website builder. And then there's a strategy on how you create the content and how you write it. It's a lot of work. So if you do plan on doing it yourself, just make sure you have the time to do it, because if you are unfamiliar with it, you also have to incorporate the time of learning how to do it as well. And with most designers and stuff, I know for myself, we go through an entire process at the very end to make sure you understand the back end of your website, and actually be able to go in and make edits that if you need to. Um, but it's that time, right?
And it goes back, and we have a customer we're working with, and we told him we're going to record him because he hired us to do his web copy. And what happens is we're trying to do it, and we go working with their existing business plan because that's where all the information is. But quite often, as a startup, you're working through all that information. You're not even clearly defined on what your vision and mission statement is. So the more work you can do for your business plan will save you time and money when you go to hire a designer or even do your website yourself, because you really do need to know that about who you are and your vision. And then even all of your product descriptions. We're leaving you with that one slide for product. Please make a spreadsheet, whatever that is. I think that's going to be one of our downloads, Em. I think we're going to have to do that, is to make sure you have the right title, that you put in all the information you need. And that's for every single product. I know when I was building out the Shopify website, every single product I had to put in, you have to put in all the description, all the keywords, all the variations of colors, how much it's going to cost to ship through. And that's individual products. That's why we say for your first one, just keep it simple if that's the kind of thing that you're going to do. And definitely go in and really think through that business plan idea. So you'll at least have an idea when you get started with your website. If that, I
There
hope
was
that
a
helps.
there was a question somebody answered that is, having a graphic design degree necessary for building a website, and it's not necessary at
No.
all. I studied graphic design for 3 years, and I've been practicing ever since. Um, I do believe that you do have to have some kind of design knowledge along with strategic knowledge on how a website is built. Um, and really thinking about, the user experience. And the user experience does come a lot down to design. And it's simple things like where you position your logo on your website, what colors that you use, how you align your text, and how your images are displayed. Like there are a lot of little things that having some design knowledge does come into play, but I don't believe that you need a degree to learn how it is, like how to do everything. I just happen to have one.
Yeah. And I just dropped in a link to all of our digital marketing sessions. There's a bunch there. There's a website 101. I do encourage you to do that. We talk through some of the stuff, as well as website 201. So if you're looking for more advanced, it's even got a website audit. It talks about UX and UI and does give you some design tips. It's probably worth watching as well. And we'll have more coming up.
There are a lot of other resources as well. If you want to learn some basics of design, website design, I know Skillshare. It is a paid subscription service, but if you have some time while you're learning how to build a website, Skillshare has a lot of amazing resources. It's kind of like a more filtered YouTube of educational stuff. And it is actually targeted towards designers and people in marketing. It does have some like heavy business stuff in there too. But if you wanted to learn cheap on how to build a website and how to structure one, it's a really good resource.
And as I mentioned, LinkedIn learning through the library. Honestly, I've watched so many of those. They're good sessions, and it's free with your library card. I think they do have website design stuff in there as well. Um,
Um, is Skillshare a replacement for university college certificates? That is a touchy question. Um, if you educate yourself on Skillshare, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's the certificate that you do get out of, university and college that does have a little bit more leverage when you are telling people your skill set. So I would just take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to decide that one for yourself. Things are
Yes.
definitely evolving. Books and resources, do we recommend? I, there's so many. Oh my goodness, we're always talking about new ones that are coming out. Audible.ca is a great place to find stuff if you're into e-learning things. But I would start with, like Emily mentioned, with the Skillshare. They're very practical. Facebook, if you're getting into the social world, Facebook Blueprint is really good. Well, I think it's Meta Blueprint now. If you want to get into understanding how to leverage Instagram and Facebook, their whole program is quite extensive for paid and organic and how to use their tools. So that's a good resource to go to for learning more. We have a bunch of them. I will put them all together, kind of the stuff I have. They're also, check out our blog, because at the bottom, I'll add in extra links that we use as resources. So you'll be able to have those as well. Tools someone's asking about reselling tools from their page. I'm not sure what page that is. Website is that, oh, Meta. I'm not sure. Meta Blueprint, I would just go in and use it for your own purposes. I'm not sure about
So Meta
res-
Blueprint is like an educational resource.
yeah.
So I wouldn't you wouldn't take that and resell it because it's not your product.
No.
If you learn from Meta Blueprint um and develop your skills to create something else that is your own, then yes. Yeah.
Yeah, illegal, it's just not right. So don't do that. They can come back at you, and if you aren't doing something with proper license, same when you use photography or anything and you don't do credit, give credit. There's a lot of legalities associated with that. So please make sure that what you're selling is right. If you want to, going back to the affiliate, if there's a lot of programs, if you use a lot of programs like Canva, I think, has an affiliate link. So if you as a service provider are using some of those programs and you can make money from promoting it, they will give you an affiliate link. It's usually not a lot of money, but if you have enough and if that's your whole program, you could make enough out of it. Do you have affiliate links on yours? I'm trying to
Yeah,
think on
yeah. So
your Emily K.
we have a few on my Emily K website. My main affiliate is Squarespace. I do have an affiliate Squarespace. It's also a really good way to track how many people are clicking on it. So if, I mean, you don't I personally don't make a lot of money off of affiliate links. It's just something to have, but I really like to see the traffic on how many people are interested in that specific affiliate link. On our Acorn website, we do have more affiliate links. I think we have about 6 or 7. So it is actually really cool to see how many people are going there, because then it actually helps us create more content
Yeah.
based on that affiliate link and how to talk to people about it.
Yeah, and it's never something to leave your full-time job for unless you're exceptional at it. But like Emily said, it's interesting to track those links. You can create different links too through Google Tag Manager, and I talk about that on website 201. And tracking all those links are really great. But at the end of the day, you have to pick and choose what you're tracking. So make sure that you do chat pick what you need to pick to make your decisions. Discord server, we're getting into a whole nother topic. We are totally at time though. You guys have been great. Thanks for all the questions. And we will be sending this out with the recording to you guys. If anything is missing, you have our direct email and our website. Idea Mississauga, I believe, is what they're sent. It's coming from, right, Mona? You're going to send the recording and everything from your email.
Yes, we will be
Okay.
sending everything out after today's session. And I also noticed someone asked if Idea Mississauga is open. We are not currently open. We're all
Ah,
working remotely. But feel free to get in contact with us through our email, idea@mississauga.ca, or send in like a contact info form on our website, idea@mississauga.ca, or contact us through social media as well, at Idea Mississauga on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn.
okay. Great. Thanks,
Awesome.
Mona. This
Yeah,
was
of course.
a lot of fun. We're going to get everyone online.
Yeah, of course. It's always so nice having you guys on our webinars. Thank you so much, Emily and Laura, for joining us. And to everyone, if you're looking forward to our events, again, just keep track of our social media, follow us on social. We do post about our events in advance, so you can register for those. Also, you can take a look at our website, ideamississauga.ca, on our events page, or you can sign up for our newsletter as well. I'll just be dropping that link into the chat. We do send those out bi-weekly. With any upcoming events and programs. So yeah, again, thank you so much for, I know it's quite late in the evening, so thanks for
Oh, it's all good.
staying and yeah, looking forward to the next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Mona. Thanks, everyone.
All
Have a
right,
great night.
for
Bye,
everyone, have a
everyone.
great evening.